take a look at black. So black was also another color that was first used in art. Prehistoric artists used black charcoal and iron to create a black pigment that they then used in Neolithic cave paintings. There's an example of this in a cave in, oh God, another name I can't really say, Lascaux Cave in France. Sorry if I totally mispronounced that. Was painted more than 17,000 years ago, although it was only discovered in the 1940s by an 18-year-old French boy who was exploring the nearby countryside. I believe that in that same cave they found 2,000 other such drawings. So black was also used in ancient Egypt and Greece as the color of the underworld. In the Roman Empire, it became the color of mourning. And over the centuries, it was frequently associated with death, evil, witches, and magic. But then in the 14th century, it was worn by royalty, clergies, judges, and government officials in much of Europe. It became the color worn by English Romantic poets, businessmen, and statesmen in the 19th century, and regarded as a high fashion color in the 20th century. According to surveys in Europe and North America, it is the color most commonly associated with, as I mentioned before, mourning, but also the end, secrets, magic, force, violence, fear, evil, death, and darkness, and also symbolizes elegance, wealth, restraint, and power. As one of the first pigment used by artists in prehistory, and the first ink used by book printers, black played an important role in the development of art and literature. Black also represents opposing ideas, such as authority and humility, rebellion and conformity, and wealth and poverty. In the Japanese culture, black means experience, as opposite to white, which symbolizes naivete. Thus, the black belt is a mark of achievement and seniority in many martial arts. Now, of course, we also have the Greeks who developed a highly sophisticated technique for painting black silhouettes on clay pottery. And another super fun fact on the side, these black figures on vases were signed by their makers, making them the first signed pieces of art in history. So what exactly was used to create black? The most basic has been charcoal, and later achieved darker shades by burning bones or grinding a powder of manganese oxide. The black lines of cave art were drawn with the tips of burnt torches made of a wood with resin. The charcoal would be ground and mixed with animal fat to make the pigment. Vine black was produced in Roman times by burning the cut branches of grapevines. It could also be produced by burning the remains of the crushed grapes, which were collected and dried in an oven. According to the historian Vitruvius, the deepness and richness of the black produced corresponded to the quality of the wine. The finest wines produced a black with a bluish tinge, sort of like indigo. Similar fine black were made by burning the pits of the peach, cherry, or apricot. The powdered charcoal was then mixed with gum arabic, or the yellow of an egg to make paint. Then we have the Inuits of Alaska that used wood charcoal mixed with the blood of seals to paint masks and other wooden objects. The Polynesians burned coconuts to produce their black pigment. Let's make a switch to dyes. The first known book of dye recipes intended for professional dyers is called The Venetian Plato by Rossetti, 1548. So black was traditionally produced from bark and roots that contain tannins, such as alder, walnuts, and chestnut. To provide a color that stayed longer, dyers started to combine tannins with iron salts that acted as a mordant. This produced a more beautiful black, but the result was corrosive to the fabric. A better but a much more expensive and complicated way to achieve black was to use a madder and woad base over dye with tannins such as gallnuts. Gallnuts is a small round tumor which grows on oak and other varieties of trees. Now, good quality black dyes were not really known until the middle of the 14th century, although the blacks produced were often more gray, brown, or bluish. and as I just mentioned, needed to be dyed several times to darken the color. Or another method was to add to the dye some iron filings. And lastly, I thought I'd talk about black ink. So the first known ink ever used were made by the Chinese and date back to the 23rd century BC. They used natural plant dyes and minerals such as graphite ground with water and applied with an ink brush. Or they were produced from soot, usually by burning pine wood and mixed with animal glue. Another one is India black, which has been in use in India since at least the 4th century BC, and there it's called masi. In India, the black ink came from bone, char, tar, pitch, and other substances. The ancient Romans had a black writing ink. It was usually made, like the India ink, from soot, although one variety was made by burning the ivory of elephants. And I believe that's the end of white and black. I hope you found this interesting and you enjoyed it. Please remember to share, subscribe, like, and I'm always happy to receive any comments or questions below. So let me hear from you and join the tribe. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye.